Hey, I'm Pascal from Orangepixel and welcome to another video. Important one because Regulators, my new game, is now available on Steam. And this game is, the development has been development from hell. First game in my 20 years of creating games, and I created more than 50, probably more than 60 games for Orangepixel, then a bunch of games for other companies. This game was the first one that went through a literal development hell. So there's a lot to unpack in this video because I'm going to tell the whole story. So we have one video that covers it all. But before I do that, and before I forget, if you want to support Orangepixel, me, my channel, my games, then now is the time to do it by checking out Regulators on Steam. It currently has a 15% launch discount. It's the best way to support me and my games. Grab my game, play it for a while, leave a review, very important as well. The key now is to get as many reviews in a short time period as possible, because that kicks in a bunch of Steam algorithm things. So the more reviews we get in a couple of days or before the weekend, the better. And of course after the weekend, this will be an ongoing thing. So please check out the game. Regulators, a top-down action shooter, but it comes with a lot of stealth and tactics and a lot of little mini games, and there's just a lot in this game. It's not been 4 years of me twitching my thumbs. There's a lot of work that went into this. So let's unpack the whole story of Regulators, how it started, which hell it went through, and how we got to this point that it's actually a released game that's actually pretty fun and I'm very proud of. After the intro. Okay, so I started Regulators on the back of releasing Residual, my last game, which was 2021. It got released alongside a publisher, and I started on my next game. I usually, when I release something, wrap something up, I start on my next game already, so I can keep momentum going. So I was working on Regulators very early days. I had a mock-up image, I'll show it on screen somewhere, and a vague idea of what I wanted based on TV shows like SEAL Team, SWAT, just those kind of military or police or team type series where you see a lot of cool action and they move as one through a level to take out enemies left and right. That was literally my whole design document. That and a mock-up. I had no idea, but I started on the game anyway. Now the publisher for Residual asked if I was working on something else, if I could show it to them. I was working on something else. It was very early days. I told them, here it is. This is my idea I have. And again, I wrote down just a couple of sentences, not a full pitch deck or a document, because I thought I was working with the publisher. They were asking and they were interested in doing more. I figured I didn't have to do it that official. But at that time, they also started working with investors and a lot more money. And investors couldn't see beyond that. And they also couldn't see beyond a Residual that wasn't doing as much as they kind of expected. Even though this was their first game in many years to be published, they overestimated what the market is and what they can do in the current market. So all that combined, the investor said, no way, this is not going to be interesting for us based on the last game, even though the failure there was, I mean, the game was done and ready and playable, the marketing not so much. So anyway, I was on my own for this game. No publisher, they stepped out of it. Fine, I'll just try to continue creating it myself and figure out what I actually want to create first anyway. Now that all took a lot longer than I expected. I needed to come up with AI, having these characters run around, and not the AI as we have it now. I'm afraid to call this AI, but like literally AI. The computer controlled characters need to understand what the player is gonna do and where he's moving at and follow suit, but sometimes go off on their own. Very weird system that I never built, had no idea where to begin. Took way too long to figure it out. Honestly, right now, if I look back at it, it's a lot easier, or it can be done a lot easier and better than I have created for this game. So I learned a lot. That's a positive thing. But it took me way too long. So in 2022, I started looking for funding. If there was maybe another publisher interested in this, maybe I should do a Kickstarter. Maybe I should write one of the funding companies that are out there. There are game funding companies out there. So I figured, let's try the Dutch version of that. We have a Dutch funding company called Mid Game Fund. Let's write them a proper document, not the 2 lines I just told you, but actually a proper pitch deck. At this point in time, I had been working on it for a few months. There was a lot more to show. There was a lot more going towards a good direction of a game. So late 2022, I was ready to send this document. I think it was late 2022 or early 23. Not exactly sure. Mid-Game Fund is a lot of people from the Dutch game community and Dutch game companies and other developers. People that have something to do with game development and game industry. And I got funded. It was a couple of back and forth, I think, but the game got funded. I had an asking and they matched that asking and I think a little extra. So that was awesome news. But it came at roughly the same week as my mom died. So there was a lot of things going on. I suddenly had funding to finish this game, but I also had a lot of other things going on in my private life. And this all mixed and blended together in 2023 with a lot of other things happening in my life. And of course, if you're a solo game developer working for your own company, you can't really take a few days off. So you keep working at things, but you also can't fully leave other stuff alone. So you have to somehow juggle it. If you work for a boss, especially in the Netherlands and most other European countries, I think, you'll take a couple of days, maybe a couple of weeks off from your work. That didn't really work in my case. So I just had to juggle all of this at once, which then caused 2024 to be a disastrous year. I talked about 2024 in the final video of the year. I'll put a thumbnail up here somewhere. Go watch that video. Short depression, hard to work on stuff, hard to focus on things, struggling. And that all spiraled into such a problem that it also put Orangepixel in a problematic state. Not enough games got made, not enough games got published. I haven't focused on enough business opportunities and things like that. I just pushed it all aside. I couldn't handle all that. So yeah, that created a lot of problems for me on the back of Regulators being the main project. And although funding is great and Mid-Game Fund being there at that time was awesome, I think there's also a downside of having funding in advance in some way. So let me unpack that a little bit. The previous game, Residual, was funded by a Kickstarter, a publisher, all upfront money. Now I had a good agreement with the publisher, so that worked out fine. But because all that money comes at the front of your game development project, most of it is gone by the end of the project and when the game releases. The same thing with Regulators. I had funding to develop this game and create it and release it. But then what? Of course, if somebody gives you money, they want something in return, and that's usually at least that same amount of money back on the sales of the game. So I knew that releasing Regulators would be a great thing, but it would also mean at that point I had no funding and there would be very little revenue coming in from this game release. So even though the game is now out, there will be money coming my way, but a lot of money will go towards the investors. That's normal, but it's also a tricky situation because you want to create your next game. Now, since 2024 was already tricky and I already saw the problems coming, and I decided to actually work on a second game while also working on Regulators and going through all of that shit. So Gauntlet of Power was made in 5 months and released on PC. It's also available on Nintendo Switch now. It was luckily profitable within 3 or 4 months after release, mostly because it was just a very short development cycle. I knew what to create, I knew what I wanted, and I made that happen. So that gave me some room and space to work on Regulators again, but also start another project that has to release later this year, and that's Space Grunt 3. Because, like I said, Regulators is now out there, and I hope it does very well. But a lot of the funding has to be paid back from the revenue of the game. That's simply how funding works, and that's how the business works. It's no secret. If somebody hands you a bag of money at the start of a project, they want that money back at the end of the project, preferably as quickly as possible. So knowing that, I needed to figure out how to make sure other games were going out the door. And that also caused Regulators to slightly be delayed, but it was either that or a focus on Regulators solely, release it, and then there was no Orangepixel anymore. So this was just something I had to do, and I also talked about it with the investors, or I told them, look, this is the case, I need to create another game in between. I'm going through some heavy stuff that makes it very rough to complete this game in time, or at least in the time frame I originally said. I need some time, and it's gonna come, it's gonna be released. It's just taking a little bit longer. So throughout all of that and working on other games, Regulators kept getting little tweaks and changes and updates and fixes and things. And it has been, development-wise, also a little bit of a hell project, because I wasn't clear on what I wanted out of it. I also ran into things that just didn't feel right gameplay-wise. I wasn't feeling my own game. I wasn't feeling my own game. Sounds very weird movie title. I wasn't liking the gameplay itself. There was something wrong with it. It wasn't fun. It wasn't up to the values or the kind of gameplay I usually deliver in my games. At the start of this year, I set out April and a little bit of May to fully focus on Regulators, and not on adding content and adding more things to it, but also figuring out what's wrong with it and how to get it on track. Now, of course, you can put that on your to-do list and just decide you want to do that. You still somehow need to figure out what's wrong with the game and how can we fix it without spending another year or another 6 months on it. Luckily, I figured it out. I removed a bunch of things. I tried to just package it all into what this game is at its core, and that's a top-down shooter. And I was doing all these extra things around it, which is great, are still in the game, but at the core it's a top-down shooter. And once I actually decided that and knew that was the main thing, I looked at a couple of others, Nuclear Throne, a couple of various top-down shooter games, Enter the Gungeon, and just look at what they were doing and what was different compared to my game. Of course, there's a lot different, but core-wise and mechanic-wise. So I noticed the movement was different, just a little inertia here and there, just a little more smoothness to it, and also the shooting had more impact. It felt like it all had more impact in those games. So I changed and started changing those things in the game, which took me a couple of days, but it slowly started feeling like an actually fun game, like something I really wanted to play. Even after so many years of working on it and not liking it at some point, I now started liking this game and played it every day. I played it while working on it all day, and then I would still actually play test it in the evening, write down a lot of things that I wanted to change the next day. So for a couple of weeks I was playing this game non-stop and I was still liking it. And actually yesterday, Sunday, I also played a couple of playtest sessions because it's now live and I had to put it live. I had to make sure it's all ready to go, and I'm still liking the game. There's so much there. A lot of the features I started adding from the start are still in there. You can control your K9 unit to get in certain areas. You have your recruit running around with you, doing a lot of things. It can learn new tasks. You actually have more than one recruit at certain times in the game. There's a lot of upgrades, a lot of weapons. Now, the mini games are in there, and those tasks sometimes only take 5 seconds. It's like pushing a button, pressing a button on the right time, and the fist will jump or drop down on the button and it presses and the door opens. Very tiny things, but it breaks up the game and it makes the game different from all the other top-down shooters. And in my opinion, the game is pretty good. And of course, my opinion is the only one that counts, because I'm creating the game, making the game, releasing the game, and there will be a lot of other opinions out there. I'm sure you have to grow a thick skin if you put out any content there, if it's a YouTube video or a game or graphic art, text, whatever you create. People have their opinion and they really want to share it with you. But for me, the most important opinion is very simple. Am I happy with the game I just released? Am I happy with the game I'm asking money for? Am I happy with the amount of money I'm asking for this game? Will people enjoy this game? And the answer to Regulators, as it is right now, is yes. This is a good game. I'm very proud. It's part of the whole Orangepixel collection and universe. It fits right in there with Gunslugs, Heroes of Loot, Space Grunts, Meganoid, all those games. It fits right in there. It's a big project, bigger than I originally intended it to be. It's different from what I originally envisioned. Maybe I'll give that another try at some point, but then I'll figure out what it actually is that I'm envisioning. But it certainly is a very good game. The result is pretty good. Regulators really came together. Everything I was working on came together in April, which was a huge relief for me. having this game project that doesn't feel right and you have to finish it because people gave you money. I couldn't dump this game at any time because I had funding for it. So I had to struggle through everything that was going wrong. And I'm very happy I did. I'm also very happy towards myself that I actually managed to get a game that was so lost and so terrible. Well, not terrible, but just not fun enough that I actually managed to get it on track and make it something fun that I'm proud of. I'm maybe even more proud of the fact that I did that. Which, yeah, I guess I am a professional game developer after all. And that's really where we are now. Regulators is released on PC, on Steam. It's coming to Nintendo Switch, but I'm first going to wait for having to fix bugs, do patches, do maybe some changes here and there if enough people are asking for certain things. Maybe some new content, although honestly, after so many years, I think the game is done, and or at least I am done with it for now, for the next few months at least. After that, once it's stable, we're going to do a Switch version. I'll give the OK to Friedel, Serious Lion on my Discord, who takes my Java code, moves it over to Monogame, and then we build out a console version for Switch, VCS, and hopefully a few other consoles in the near future. After that, it will also move towards other stores, probably through my deal with Handy Games, which has been doing very well and interesting for all my other games. So this title will go in there soon, probably, and so we can get it on GOG, Epic Game Services, if I can get all of that working, and everything else that we can get this game on. So yeah, the game is out on Steam. Please go check it out if you want to support me and my games and my channel and all these free videos about interesting content and how to do business and everything around creating games. This is the best way to help me. Buy Regulators. And of course, like I said, a lot of the revenue is going to the investors, but that's also a good thing because the sooner they have their investment back on this game, the sooner they hopefully can invest in another developer's game. And that's also a very good thing to have. So I think that's where I'm wrapping up the video. I think this covered everything about Regulators from day one till now. The game is released, it's on Steam. I'm effing proud of the game. It's a very fun top-down shooter. It has 2-player mode, split screen, local co-op, and it's very much worth it to check that out. It's a lot of fun sneaking around with a buddy and taking down enemies and mutated weirdos and whatever. Maybe if I ever get it up and running and find some time to work on that, I'll do a multiplayer online. There is a lot of code there already. It's just not working 100%. It's working like 100% at some times, but then just a tiny 99% at other times, and that 1% that isn't working all the time, that's the bug. And that's a very terrible, hard to find bug in my netcode. So I'm not sure, maybe at some point it will happen. For now, Regulators is a full game. It comes with a lot of content, a lot of hours of gameplay. Check it out. Level editor. It also has a level editor. It has a public demo available, but I prefer you to just grab the full game. That would be the awesome thing. And of course, leave it, have it run, play it for an hour or more, and please leave a review. I need reviews to get this game noticed by others. I mailed a lot of streamers already, but nobody responded so far. Not expecting a lot of coverage. The streaming market these days, they want money in order to cover your game. Honestly, the developer is at the low end and the low bottom of everybody that has jumped onto the game industry. Everybody's making money on a new release game or even before it releases, but the game developer himself or the company or multiple game developers, they only get their money afterwards as the last one. And it's a tough, rough business. So every help is appreciated. And I'm going to be working on the next game, Space Grunts, already working on it. So I'm going to continue that. Actually, I have to, what date is it? It's 19th, 2023. I actually have 2 weeks to get the demo updated and ready to go for Turn-Based Festival on Steam, which goes live the first week of June. So I have more work to do. One game goes out the door, the next game, working on it. Gotta keep moving. Thanks for watching the video. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment below the word Regulators, or just grab the game instead. That would be even better. Forget about this video and this channel. Grab my games. That's what I'm doing. I'm a game developer. More important than these videos. Thanks for watching. I hope it wasn't too much rambling. Hope this gives you a little insight of how a game gets made and how it can be a struggle to get a game made sometimes. Hopefully my next game will be far less struggle. I got a sneaky suspicion it will be more relaxed than this one, for sure. Thanks for watching. Bye.